If you've just been through a mold remediation and your house still doesn't feel right, or your kids are still sick, or you just know it's off, right? That happens all of the time. And there's a reason that that happens that most people don't know about. And even if you've had a good remediation job done in your home, a successful mold remediation job done, it can still, you can still stay sick in the home. And that's because mold is biology, it's a living organism. And when particularly it gets into modern airtight homes, we have all these chemicals and things in our building materials. When water gets in the home and mold grows, it eats those materials and it creates mycotoxins, which are actually chemicals. They're poisons that mold create primarily to kill bacteria, and that's how actually humans use them. Things like penicillin, mycophenolic acid, which is given to people who've had an organ transplant. We test for that in homes, mycophenolic acid. So when these chemicals get inside of a building, because there were indoor molds, mold remediation can't remove them. And for some people, they're not sensitive to them, or getting the majority of them out with the mold is enough. But for a lot of people who have chronic illness and chronic illnesses that most people wouldn't even really associate. There was a study that was just done in the military, and half of all military service members said that the mold in their home was affecting their readiness. And the number one symptom was actually mental health. So it's anxiety, depression, brain fog. There's actually neurological symptoms because it's these chemicals are different than mold. When you breathe them in, they get into the sinus cavity and they're small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier. So they go straight into the brain. And that's why a lot of the times you'll notice when you walk into these homes, if you are sensitive, your brain will start to feel foggy. And then if you're in those homes for long periods of time, anxiety, this is one of my symptoms when I'm in a home, how I can tell if there's mycotoxins in that home. So when you've gone through a mold remediation, you've spent all this money, you've talked to a mold remediator, you really like the guy probably sometimes, you thought he did a good job, or maybe you thought he didn't do a good job, and maybe he released more mycotoxins by aggravating that mold. But either way, there's a second step that you have to do when you get a mold remediation and you still don't feel right. And frankly, everybody should do. And that's the detoxification of the home from the chemicals that are left behind. And I haven't even told you who I am. My name is Seth Jones. I run a company called Superstratum Labs. This is what we specialize in, and we help hundreds, thousands of families who are in this situation. And it's just not well known. There's no regulations on this. Mycotoxins are regulated very, very strictly within agriculture, how we ingest, right? But they're in our homes, and they're in the air, and they're on the surfaces, and they can move into the skin through dermal when it passes through the skin. But when we breathe them in, it's really dangerous because it gets into our lungs. There's no regulation and very few ways to test. So we developed a solution for that, and that's what we help homeowners do. So if you are a homeowner and you're listening this long, then I know what situation you're in. You've spent a lot of money and you're afraid that it didn't work. Reach out to us. We've got a team, and we've made it so that you can do it yourself. You can get on our home calculator, get all the products you need. You do it in about 2 days, and you will obliterate all of the mycotoxins and VOCs. And in this cleaning process, you'll get the things out of the home that are continuing to make your symptoms persist.